Getting in and meeting with psychiatrists and psychologists, you weren't being forthcoming with them about the cause of your guilt and your troubles, were you?
No, ma'am. I was ashamed of what I have told the court today, and I still am.
But you were more concerned about protecting your reputation than you were getting the help you needed at that point?
It was not necessarily about my reputation. It was about my entire family. I did not want them hurt. I felt like they would be very hurt if my children knew that I had been to those places and had been involved in pornography and been to those places. I did not want to see them hurt, but it was not about me wanting to make myself look better. No, ma'am.
Well, the psychiatrists and the psychologists wouldn't have told your family that you'd been watching a lot of pornography and getting sexual gratification from women at massage parlors. The
psychiatrist in Gastonia, I did not tell him that. No, ma'am. I believe, I'm almost positive, I told the ones here about that. I'm almost positive when in my initial interview here with a psychiatrist, I told them exactly the truth.
By here, you mean after May 20th?
Yes, ma'am.
So the psychiatrist that you were meeting with after you killed your family?
By here, I meant at Central Prison when they entered as an intake. I remember telling them about the pornography and the massage parlors. Yes, ma'am.
I suppose after running your family over, the hurt of the knowledge about the massage parlors and stuff kind of seems minimal, doesn't it?
Say that again, ma'am.
Well, after you'd physically harmed them, it didn't seem to matter so much to protect those secrets so that you wouldn't hurt them by sharing the bad things you'd been doing.
It had nothing to do with what had already happened. I was at a place where I was being offered help after it happened, and I was trying to be as truthful as I possibly could.
Surely it's occurred to you, Mr. Self, that if you'd been that truthful before all of this happened, that maybe Amanda and Kate would still be with us.
I can't answer that question, ma'am. I don't know the answer to that question.
Okay. You said your family, Austin and Monty and Taylor and Kate, that they were doing everything they could do to help you, didn't they?
I felt like they were, yes, ma'am.
But you weren't doing everything you could to help yourself.
I was trying my best.
Trying your best while at the same time making sure you kept up your appearance within the community, right?
By that time, ma'am, my appearance in the community did not matter at all. None.
Oh!
That's why I avoided even going to church. That's why I avoided going to see customers, because I was so sick. What people thought at that point did not matter to me, not by then.
But you went on and on about how you were afraid you were going to embarrass your family.
I was afraid I was going to embarrass my family.
I don't see how those two things can be consistent. That you had stopped worrying about what people thought, but at the same time you were afraid you were going to be embarrassing. Can you help me understand that?
You don't see how they're consistent? The fact that I was trying to get help and embarrass my family? I don't understand the question.
No, Mr. South. You said you were not worried about how you were viewed in the community at that point. You were more worried about getting help. Is that right?
By that time, I was extremely worried about getting help. I didn't feel like I was even in a position at that time to go in and announce to my church community and all of my friends what I had done wrong. I felt like my allegiance was to God and my family. It did not matter to me what people thought at that point, by no means. And I've said it here publicly in court, for people to hear something that is humiliating and embarrassing to me. But at that time, I was doing the best I could with what I knew and how to try to help myself. I felt my ultimate responsibility was God and Him alone. And second, my wife and children.
Mr. Self, let's talk about May 19th, 2018, where you said you had never before that moment had thoughts of hurting yourself. Is that right?
If that time frame on May 19th was the serious, I may have Thursday, Friday, Saturday, may have thought about it within that time period. Prior to that, I don't remember ever thinking ever about hurting myself. No, ma'am.
But you'd asked Josh to come and take your guns earlier.
That's correct. It seems like someone told me to do that. They said it's just a suggestion that you should follow, that you should remove any firearms from your house. And I really, the day I made that call, did not feel like it was an issue. But I felt like I'm going to follow your advice. And I called Josh, and he came, and he picked up my weapons. He actually left a .45 revolver laying on my bed by accident. And if I'd have wanted to keep that gun, all I'd had done was kept it. And I called him on the phone, and I said, son, you left the .45. I'll bring it to you, or you can come get it. And he came and picked it up.
So you said you got in the car to head towards the ball field because your grandkids were playing ball that day.
I was really wanting to try my best to do that, yes, ma'am.
You said it was just like a dream, and suddenly you were at Shooter's Express.
That's correct.
And you kind of came to in the parking lot there.
Came to?
Yeah, you said you suddenly there you are.
Yeah, I'm there in the parking lot.
And you're aware of the fact that you're sitting in the parking lot of a gun shop.
Yes, ma'am.
So you've got control of yourself at that moment, don't you?
I don't feel like I had control at all of myself.
Oh.
I was aware that I was there, and this pull to get a weapon, if I could, I would describe that to you. I went in and bought that weapon. Nobody told me to or not to. I did that on my own.
And then you go to the fishing lake, right?
Not after I left Shooter's Express, no, ma'am.
Where did you go after Shooter's
Later
Express?
that night.
Okay, where did you go after Shooter's Express?
I went back home, and then I drove to High Shoals, where this homeless young man and his girlfriend were staying. And I went in. He told me that she had been picked up by the police in Lincoln County. And I said, well, we need to get you some food. He and I drove to Dollar General. I took an ice chest, filled it full of ice and food that he wanted. I drove back to his house in High Shoals, dropped him off with the food. And then after that, which was late afternoon, I don't remember where I went between that time, because it seems like when I got to the lake, it was, the sun was setting, it was dusky, but between, the only place that I know I went was possibly back in my house and laid down in the bed, but I don't know that for sure.
But during that time, you're in control of your actions, aren't you?
I did not feel like I was.
Oh, well, but you decided to drive to High Shoals, and you decided to take the fella to the store and get him some food. You made those decisions, right?
I made those decisions.
That wasn't this pulling force that was having you do these good things, was it?
I did not feel like it was.
Okay. And you go to the lake, right?
At some point at dusky dark,
Okay.
I remember driving to the lake. Tracy, his son, maybe his son's friends, they're fishing. They've got their rod set up. And Charlie, the boy that testified this morning, was there fishing. I pulled up, got out, went and sat down, and was just really kind of staring at the water. Tracy nor his sons and whoever was with them didn't say anything. I mean, you know, they acknowledged that I was there. Charlie came over and sat down beside me and talked to me. I remember that. And
Now, he didn't testify that you were all shaky and trembly, did he?
I don't recall him testifying to that, no ma'am.
You controlled yourself when you drove to the lake, right?
I actually drove to the lake. Yeah, I was wanting to try to do what people were suggesting that I do, and that was to interact with other people. I was trying my best to do that. But when I got there, this pain, this nervousness was so overwhelming, I told Charlie, I got to go home.
You guys never saw this.
No. So, Mr. Fowler at Shooter's Express, he doesn't see you being trembly and nervous, but you said you were when you were at the gun shop, right?
I feel like I was somewhat nervous.
Okay. And Charlie doesn't talk about you being trembly and nervous. But you say you were.
What Charlie testified to this morning was not our complete conversation at that lake.
Well, you've been giving Mr. Beam suggestions about things to ask, right?
Yes, ma'am.
And if Charlie had said you were trembling and nervous, wouldn't you have had Mr. Beam ask him that?
Me and Mr. Beam had a conversation about, he advised me to let him do his job. If there was a question I particularly wanted to ask, that he would look at it, but I've tried my best to follow his leadership.
Okay. So you say you go home, you have some hamburger, or a bite of hamburger. Because I think you said you couldn't eat anything at all. That's how you described it to Detective Dover. And I think that's right, isn't it?
I did take a bite of the hamburger, yes,
Okay.
ma'am.
And I think that Dr. Corbin yesterday said that your speech tend to be a little hyperbolic. You tend to speak in hyperbole a little bit and tend to exaggerate a little bit with something like that, right?
Is that what he said? I'm sure if that's what he said, that's what he said, yes, ma'am.
Well,
I don't remember everything he said, and I have not seen his report.
Okay. But you talked to him a number of times, right?
Yes, ma'am, quite a few times at different stages, early on, later on, and then his most recent in March.
And you say after the hamburger that you and Diane sit outside on the porch and talk for a long time?
We talked inside and outside. We walk in, walk out, sit there. She had gone shopping. She had asked me to go do whatever I needed. She said, you go to the lake or you can go shopping with me. I said, well, I will at least try to go over to the lake. And I think Taylor testified that she came. I do remember her coming, but I wasn't sure it was that same day. I had went over with a couple different times and watched them fish, or tried to.
Is it a good time to?
I think that, given the hour, Your Honor, I think it'd be appropriate to recess for the evening, and we'll resume in the morning.